And we're back. This week, it's Women's History Month, in case you didn't know. So I'm gonna treat myself by reading comics written by, drawn by, lettered by, colored by women. And so I only have one comic pick for you this week. It's called Billie the Bee by Mary Fleener. And not because there isn't a ton of comics to choose from with lady writers and colorists and stuff, but because this one's a little bit longer, and so I wanted to give myself some time to read it. But also, I saw Captain Marvel, and I have so many thoughts and so many feelings. I'm going to give you an absolutely spoiler-filled review in this video. So without further ado, let's talk comics, and also movies, and stuff. So the comic I have for you this week is called Billie the Bee. It's a graphic novel? So the comic I have for you this week is a graphic novel. It's called Billie the Bee by Mary Fleener. She is an artist out of California, and she wrote and drew this book about a honeybee who is a big girl, and she has a lot of personality. And you know what? I can relate. Billie is so sweet and so cute, and she makes friends with all the people in her little environment. And I said people, but I meant animals, like a rattlesnake and like a wolf and other cute animals. And not only was this book really cute, because I want to be Billie the Bee's friend because she's just so sweet, but I learned so much, like about bees, about ranger bees, about queen bees, about the way that they interact, the way that their habitat works. I learned things about rattlesnakes, and I learned that humans are kind of the worst, because we destroy stuff, and that's not any secret to me. And I think one of the reasons why Billie the Bee is just so darn cute is maybe because we should be friends with bees, because if they die, then we're gonna die too. Sorry, this got really bleak. Anyway, Mary Fleener, she calls her style of art cubismo. And you see it in some of the frames in this comic, and it's really, really an interesting look, and all the line work is so beautiful, and the cross-hatching in the background, it's quite a beautiful thing to look at, and also the story was really enduring. I would say that this is a book for both kids and adults, maybe not little kids. There is 1 or 2 curse words in here, but not anything too terrible, so, you know, maybe read it first. But it's really good. I really, really enjoyed it, and I told everybody in my office about it, so I think that that is a good endorsement if you want to tell other people that they should pick up this book and read it too. So I would recommend it to you. It was recommended to me at Floating World Comics at 400 Northwest Cooch Street. They are so nice and so helpful, and they help me pick comics every week so I can read them and then tell you about them uncomfortably, awkwardly. They're way nicer and way less awkward than me. Anyway, we have to talk about Captain Marvel. Now, I saw Captain Marvel on opening night with a giant tub of popcorn and a Diet Coke, because I told you that's how I roll, and I'm not a liar. But when I left the theater, I felt so inspired and so in awe. Like, I left the theater truly feeling like I could punch a hole in the wall. Like, I wanted to jump parkour over things and run a couple miles, because that's all I got in me. I have asthma. But I really felt like I could do anything, and I wondered if that's how dudes felt when they saw Thor slinging people around, or Captain America, like just throwing his shield around and doing really cool stuff. And that's not to say I didn't enjoy every other superhero movie I've ever seen, because I certainly have. You know, when I leave those movies, I want to talk about them, and I thought they were so cool, and I want to talk about the cool effects and like what my favorite characters were doing, and you know, it was just a different feeling. It really felt very personal. That's not to say that the movie wasn't without its faults, and I'm going to talk to you about those in a minute, but I want to talk about the things that I really loved first. I loved that Carol Danvers was never sexualized, period, or as the butt of a joke. And I never felt like her wardrobe was meant to be gawked at for any other reason than the fact that it looked super cool. So, you know, of course, we're very familiar with her space getup and her mohawk helmet, and that looked really cool as well, but she also walked around in normal 90s gear, like a Nine Inch Nails shirt and some jeans, and I thought that was just cool and of the time, and they did kind of joke about it. Nick Fury said she looked like somebody's disaffected niece, and like, don't at me. Anyway, I thought that was really cool. I also want to talk about Maria and Carol's friendship. They were best friends in the Air Force before... Hello. My dog's done being washed. I'm gonna finish shooting this first. Okay. Anyway, I really loved the relationship between Carol and Maria. It was never set up to be some sort of girl competition. It was never set up to be some sort of tease for some sort of queer love plot or anything like that. It was just truly a good female relationship. It wasn't teasing the audience for anything. It was truly just them being together and being family and being best friends and having each other's backs. They were in the Air Force together before Carol was absorbed the powers of Mar-Vell and became a Kree warrior. And, you know, when she returns to Earth, she doesn't really have all that memory, and sort of building that back up and understanding that, you know, Maria is really there for her and loves her so much. And that was just so sweet to see. Like, you didn't have to learn too much about Carol's family. You just got to understand that this was her adopted family. And I think that that storyline is really, really relevant for a lot of people. You know, it's relevant to me. Me and my mom just kind of go around and let families adopt us. And I think that that, you know, is really sweet. And it was just really well depicted, and it was never anything other than just a sweet, true female-on-female friendship. And I really, really loved that. I also loved the fact that Maria had a daughter named Monica, and Monica was just so inspired by Captain Marvel. There's this scene where Captain Marvel shoots off, she flies off into the night, and you just see Monica standing there looking up in awe, and I think that that's so representative of the way that Captain Marvel is going to inspire a bunch of little girls to come. I mean, even me, like, I'm a 26-year-old adult, and I'm like, you know, watching in the movie theater, and I just thought that, you know, that was so special, and I can't wait to see who Monica is in Endgame, because I feel like she's gonna have to be somebody. Like, they didn't just bring her in for no reason. So we'll see if she ends up being anything or whatever. I also loved Goose. If you don't know, Goose is a cat, but he's also like an alien, and he plays a bigger role than I thought that he would, and he's just so adorable and also so kick butt. And I love that Nick Fury loves him so much. Even after he learns that he's an alien, he's still really cute to him. And then there's the funny little throwback, of course, that Nick Fury lost his eye because Goose scratched him, and Goose is an alien and whatever. I also think one of my favorite scenes was the scene where Carol gets knocked down and she stands up. And it shows her standing up every time she got knocked down, as a little girl, as a preteen, as a teen, in boot camp, and now as Captain Marvel. And I think that that's such an important message to send, that no matter when you get knocked down, to find it within yourself to stand right back up. And that also goes hand in hand with one of my other favorite scenes, which is where Jan-Rog, who is played by Jude Law, tells Captain Marvel that she needs to turn off her powers, and if she can truly beat him, she can do it without her powers, and prove to me that you can do this. And she's like, screw you, I don't have anything to prove to you, and blasts him with her powers. I think that's so funny. And I kind of think it was like a little heavy-handed for her to knock him down with her powers like she did, and then hover over him and say, I don't have anything to prove to you. It's just kind of like, I got that with the action that you did. But on the other hand, I understand that little girls are gonna be watching this who like may not be able to understand that that was the intention, or, you know, little kids in general. And so I am partially glad that they did say that, because it was very illustrative of what she was trying to do. So the 90s nostalgia of the movie wasn't too heavy. She landed in a blockbuster, which was pretty funny. And I think that's especially funny because I've been reading all these articles about how the last blockbuster in the world is here in Bend, Oregon. So, you know, whatever. She also, when she gets into an outfit, like I mentioned, she has a 9 Inch Nails shirt and some like distressed jeans, and she wears like a flannel around her waist, which is very 90s, of course. If you weren't there, just take my word for it. I think this movie did a really good job of explaining something really complicated like the Kree Skull War, which is an intergalactic space war, without getting too much into the weeds, because they definitely could have. They could have gotten into like so much space politics, and they could have made it super boring or super unapproachable. And I felt like they gave me a bite-sized amount of information to understand what was going on between the Krees and the Skrulls, and why I should care, and why Carol cares, and why Jan-Rog cares, and everybody else, and I wasn't bored with it. So it did a really good job of weaving her story in with what was going on and what was going on in the past, and then tying back to things that, you know, information that we've been harboring in our brains from the last 10 years of Marvel movies. It did a good job sort of tying all that stuff up, and so, you know, I applaud them for that. I think origin stories are difficult to tell. Like, I don't envy the people who have to make those decisions or write those movies, and a lot of times you can tell that there's a little bit of like a struggle, you know, like with every origin movie, there seems to be some part that like drags on. And, you know, what I loved about Carol was that she was depicted as very emotional. And the whole movie, people like Jan-Rog were telling her to get her emotions in check, because emotions are a bad thing. And that is something that I think is so relatable in the human experience. Women who are bossy are seen as mean or rude or aggressive, and women who are emotional are seen as unstable, and like all these tropes that women suffer with because we are seen as overly emotional. It was so nice to see a superhero dealing with the same kind of stuff, and yet she found a way to make her emotions her superpower. I think that's so important for people to remember, women, men, everybody, that your emotions are your superpower, and if anybody tells you that you need to get them in check, so long as you're not hurting anybody else, like, feel what you need to feel. It's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to cry, it's okay to be anxious and worried. Like, I'm a very anxious person. Like, you know, it's just, that's okay, and you can, in fact, turn it into your superpower like Carol Danvers did. There is something so human about being vulnerable and so important about being vulnerable. It was really nice that a movie put that out there, and it was one of the main themes of the movie. It wasn't just like a scene where like they used that as a plot device to make her seem more approachable. It was just how it was. And on to things that maybe weren't the best. Some of the CGI was a little bit wonky, so sometimes when she would ball up her hand and do like that weird cosmic thing, like with her powers, her hand would look super weird, like her fingers were way too long or something. And then other times, there was this time where she was talking to the Supreme Intelligence, she gets thrown up against the wall and she's supposed to like sort of melt into the wall. And it just, like, the proportions of her body were like not correct. It looked very weird and very strange, and so, you know, it's not a perfect movie. Additionally, Carol is Kree. She's part Kree. She absorbed Mar-Vell's power, and she's been a Kree warrior for the past like 6 years. And so it's kind of hard to tell sometimes if she's being stiff in a situation because she's Kree and she's now, you know, on Earth and she's experiencing these memory flashes that she can't really piece together, or if because they just, I don't know, there was something the matter with Brie Larson's acting. She's an Academy Award-winning actress and also amazing. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that it was an intentional move, but sometimes she looks a little awkward where she's just kind of sitting there like, Carol, what are you doing? But I also think that that's part of Carol Danvers' character, to be super observant. You know, she was in the military and also is just kind of an observant person, and that lends to her wit. Now that leads me to Carol Danvers. Carol Danvers was so witty and so smart and so funny and so personable and emotional, like I said before, and I think that that's so important. She was such a well-rounded written female character, and I can't say enough how important that is. It's important because little girls deserve to see somebody on the big screen that they can relate to, that they can put posters on their wall of. And it's so important to have a strong female character for all the strong females out there who want to be just like her. And you know, Carol Danvers is not just a superhero, she's like a super woman, like not superwoman, but a super woman. She was a pilot in the Air Force at a time when women weren't super welcome, and I think that that's awesome. That shows a lot of strength and a lot of determination, and that's kind of, those two characteristics really go hand in hand when it comes to Carol Danvers. Anything she wants to do, she'll figure out a way to do it, whether that be as a human or as Captain Marvel. And in both of those things, she always has heart, and she lets her heart guide her in what she wants to do. And so overall, I really, really liked Captain Marvel. I can't wait to see it again. So I was sitting in my seat sort of like, ugh, the whole time, because I was just very enthralled, and that's just how I watch superhero movies. So like every other superhero movie, I'm gonna go see it a couple more times so I can absorb it better. But those are just some of my first thoughts on it, and I wanna know what you think of it if you go see it. Now, it has like an 85% critics score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is certified fresh and very good, but it has a 33% audience score because little whiny babies are going on there and trashing it because they were mad because they couldn't trash it beforehand. Just some sexist nonsense. So don't believe the audience score if you buy into that kind of stuff. So let me know what you think of Captain Marvel when and if you go see it. Let me know if you're gonna wait for it to come to DVD, because some people are like that. Let me know if you're gonna see it a couple weeks from now, or if you're gonna go see it this weekend. Like, just let me know. I wanna have a conversation about it, but I wanna have a constructive conversation about it. I don't wanna hear you complaining that you think it's some social justice warrior propaganda. I don't wanna hear any sexist takes. I don't have time for that. And you don't wanna come in my comments with that, trust me. So what should I read next week? Do you have any suggestions for any comics that you love that are written by females or female artists that you love that I can go check out? I would like to do that. So leave me a comment about that too, let me know. And that's all I have for you this week. Maybe a little bit long-winded, but I had a lot to say about Captain Marvel because I really, really liked it. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it. So I will see you again next week, same place, same-ish time. And this has been KGW's Comic Pick of the Week. There's my dog Watson. I know you guys only watch these videos to see him, but what I wanted to say was there's a fight scene to Just a Girl by No Doubt in Captain Marvel, and it spoke to my soul directly, and I've listened to nothing but Tragic Kingdom since I saw the film. I have a problem. Please send help.